Let's talk about Claude Monet and Impressionism. For our objective today, we want to explore Claude Monet's pivotal role in the Impressionism movement, highlighting his innovative use of color and light, and examining a broad spectrum of his artworks, including his famous Water Lilies series at Giverny. Claude Monet is heralded as a key pioneer of the Impressionist movement. You deeply need to remember Impressionism and associate it with Claude Monet, as well as Water Lilies. This Impressionist movement transforms the art world by introducing new techniques and perspectives, capturing the momentary effects of light and color, which you're going to see as we begin to look at some of his works. To understand Impressionism, you need to know that it was a radical art movement at the time. It emerged in the late 19th century in response to the rigid academic standards of the French art establishment, of art having to look a very specific way. Instead, Impressionism could be different. It could reflect things like loose brushwork, open composition, so you have a little bit more freedom, and emphasis on light and its changing qualities. It often depicts everyday subject matter in scenes of modern life. Something like just some flowers on a table could be the subject of artwork that becomes some of the most famous artwork of all time. The everyday could still be inspiring. Impressionists often painted in plein air outdoors to capture the transient effects of light and atmosphere. Meaning, like, if you're outdoors and you're painting a scene, things like light and shadow are going to change based on where the sun is. Wind may shift some leaves or flowers or things like that, and that could be reflected in your work. And that idea, which seems like it makes total sense to us, was revolutionary at the time. The impact of this is that the movement laid the groundwork for various modern art developments, influencing such styles as Neo Impressionism, Post Impressionism, and Fauvism. So you see like multiple movements that are going to spring out from just this one because of how influential it is. For Monet's techniques and style, his contributions to Impressionism were profound, marked by his innovative focus on light and color. Monet's approach to color, where shadows were painted with colors reflected from objects around them, broke away from the traditional use of grays and browns. Look at our painting below. You can see the shadow is not just gray or brown. It still has the green of the various like grass and underbrush that's over here. You still have this shadow reflecting dramatically, but it's still highlighting that it is part of an actual environment. It looks like it would if you were outside, but also still with this like more feeling. It's not as rigid in structure. His quick, dabbing strokes allowed Monet to depict fleeting moments, capturing a sense of immediacy and movement that was central to the Impressionist style. You can see the wind blowing this kind of like veil she's got. You can see her dress has ripples in it. You can see the grass is being blown in the wind too. You can see the light and shadow of the moment. There's movement, there's depth to this because of that style. Some key works: Monet's oeuvre extends far beyond the water lilies, with numerous works that have cemented his legacy in art history. Water lilies is going to come up almost any time you discuss Claude Monet, but you need to know things like Impression Sunrise, the painting from which Impressionism gets its name, depicting a misty morning over Le Havre's port with loose brushstrokes and remarkable use of color as light. Look at the painting below. Look at the orange sunrise coming up over the horizon and how it's painting everything in this foggy sense of just like time. You can tell that this is the morning. You can tell that these people are out at work. You can't see everything as distinct as you could in a lot of paintings, but it doesn't matter because of that emotion or that feeling that it conveys. Haystacks series is another series of paintings that are famous, and they just show the same subject at various times of day and seasons, highlighting Monet's detailed study of light and its effects on color. Look at the just tiny details, and you may not be able to see it on your screen quite as well. There's just so much work that went into this depiction of just some haystacks in a field. The Rouen Cathedral series. This series showcases the cathedral at different times of day. Remember that theme of a lot of the paintings being different times of day or seasons under various light conditions, emphasizing the transient nature of light or how light changes, even over a short period of time. Clouds can impact how things look dramatically, and when you're painting, if you can kind of capture that, it can make things more interesting. Some of Monet's influence on modern art. Monet's techniques and perspectives have had a lasting impact on various art movements and modern artists. His work influenced a multitude of artists, from his contemporaries to modern painters like Jackson Pollock, who drew inspiration from Monet's emphasis on the physical act of painting and the dynamics of color. His exploration of repeated subjects under varying conditions prefigured aspects of abstract expressionism and other 20th century art movements. So, a question to wrap up our sort of brief introduction to Claude Monet. He devoted his final 30 years to creating approximately 250 paintings of Witch Flowers Below, a staple of his garden at Giverny. Would that be roses, irises, water lilies, or sunflowers? And if you paid attention, you probably heard our discussion on water lilies, and you can see an example below, although there's a whole lot of examples of them. Monet's water lily series, created in his own garden at Giverny, is celebrated for its radical approach to form and color, reflecting his deep investigation into the effects of light and atmosphere. And while Monet also painted these other flowers, he did not explore them at the same depth that he did as water lilies. That caps our discussion on Claude Monet. Look into more of his works and try to get a deeper understanding of Impressionism as a whole.